that might not be a comfortable place for you to be for 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, so just with the one block stuck in between your shoulder blades with your head falling back. So you could have another block above that one for your head. And we've done that one before, where you have one block supporting the back of your head and one block between your shoulder blades into your upper back. If you can do it without and just lie with your head falling back and your arms out by your sides, you could try that. But have another block, and just in case you need another block to make the pose comfortable, supported for your own situation. Okay. Let's start there, and then we'll be there for the first few minutes, and then we're going to just move the block down into the lower mid back, right? Into this like rib cage spine. And I'll just come up and show each time we switch that out. So again, a little bit of yin practice to begin. This will be about 15 minutes, and then we'll just move through the joints and do some supported restorative poses at the end. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Again, thanks for making time. Other things in there. So variation 1, your head is dropping back and you're just looking back at the wall behind you. Okay. And if that sounds like just kind of a weird and a slightly uncomfortable place to start, you could start with the elevated block under your head and then give that a minute, maybe. And then you could take the block from behind your head and just have the block that's between your shoulder blades. And we're typically starting in a much more kind of relaxed or restful way. We're starting with a little bit of intensity here right off the bat. So if you want to support the head to begin, support the head to begin, and then maybe we can let go of that higher block after a minute or so. And if the block on its long skinny edge between your shoulder blades is too high, too much pressure, there's no way in God's green earth that you're ever going to be able to just drape yourself over a high block like that, and you need to lower it. Of course, just turn it down onto its flat side, running lengthwise, right? So it's still running lengthwise top to bottom on the vertical line of your mat between the shoulder blades. And maybe that's a comfortable place for your head to fall back. And I'm going to take another maybe 5 breaths here with the 2 blocks, then I'm just going to drop the block that's supporting my head. Okay, so feel free to just stay with the upper block behind your head if you want to. Just play with taking that block away. You could also just turn it so it's also low. It's the same height as the block behind your shoulder blade, so your head is still resting. Or experiment. Experiment with what feels like you're giving yourself a place to land. I think in the yin practice, you want to always kind of find where you can just kind of hang in your joints, but always have a place to land. Have something to support gaps. And so let's take another 2 or 3 breaths here. Finish this breath. Take 2 more. Good. Then I'm just gonna let all of my body weight fall to one side. Just roll over to one side so you can be off the block on your side. Yeah. And then maybe press up from there. You just pause in this comfortable seat for a minute and just feel how that kind of feels, and maybe adjusted your spine a bit. And then let's go try the one block across. And this is going to go right across the mid back. We do this sometimes with a bolster, or we do it with maybe just one flat blanket, and you could do that too. You could have just an extra blanket long across your mat, right, like this, where the middle of that blanket is going to be right across the lower part of your rib cage spine. This is going to be some intensity if you're using the block. So just decide if that meets your needs. So again, right, all of this part of your heart, your chest, your lower rib cage is up. It's a little higher in a bit of a back bend than your head. So if you decide that's an uncomfortable pressure, lymphatic pressure or carotid pressure that doesn't feel right for your head, you've got extra. Here's my extra block. You can have the extra block, or you can put a blanket here, or you can just be lower. Use a blanket instead of a block. And then maybe also that blanket, extra blanket behind your head, like when we do the mountain brook pose, where we have a blanket behind the head, a blanket behind this part of the spine. This is just a little more. This is just a little more bend, a little more rib cage opening here in the lower ribs. The diaphragm attachment is getting some stretch. And that part of your rib cage spine is getting the support. One block or 2 blocks or 2 blankets. If you are on the block, if you're using the block, it's going to feel a lot more enlivening than the restorative variation or version of this that we often do. So the tension is a little bit higher, the sensation or intensity is a little higher level of intensity. It's comfortable tension that you can sit with for another 5-6 breaths. Sit with it. Come out whenever you feel like you are just done or need to come out, come out. Nice, right? And so you want to come out again with as little effort as possible. I would not maybe want to try to lift up off of the block and grip these spinal muscles and potentially send them into a little spasm. So I'm just going to try to stay heavy, drop my left knee off to the left, let the rest of the weight of my body follow. I just roll heavily off the block onto one side. Good. Essentially, you want to try to use as little muscle action as possible to get out of something like that. You wouldn't want to just like squeeze into the back more where you're already holding that tension. Then the last variation is a supported bridge pose. So it just is going to come underneath your sacrum, right? Like we do all the time. Okay, and then if, again, as usual, if the block is not a comfortable thing for your sacrum, if that's an uncomfortable or strenuous and discomforting sensation of pressure on your sacrum, a blanket or your bolster can substitute for your one block. If the block feels okay, you can just be on the block. And that's just right, hips up on the block, where you can roll back onto your back, little kind of effortless coming into the pose, roll back onto your back, then push your feet, lift your hips, slide your block in behind your sacrum, set your sacrum on the block, and then just let go. And you can stay right here. You don't have to do the hip extension unless you really want to and you need to, or that feels good. You could just stay here. The idea here, right, is for the block, the pressure of the block against the sacrum, to experience that with the pose. But it shouldn't be painful, right? It should just feel like a little bit of pressure. You can walk your feet out a little bit again. If you want to take the hip extension and extend your legs, you could extend your legs both or one at a time. And then just let go, just breathe. Feel that kind of hollowing, concaving of the abdomen as you exhale. Let's take another minute here in the pose. Good. So finish this breath. Take one more breath here on the block. And you could, as we have been doing, just roll yourself off to one side, or you might be safe here. Pressing the feet, engage the backs of the hips a little bit, so you're not just using your back to come off of the block, and then just set the block off to the side. Good. And then from here, we're gonna be on our backs for a bit, so if you want to have extra blanket support for your head, so your head is elevated and your shoulders are released, grab an extra blanket. And then bring your knees into your chest. One knee under each hand. Inhale, take your knees away from you. Exhale, pull your knees toward you. Couple of more breaths like that. And then set both feet on the floor. Let's cross right thigh over left thigh. Right arm over left arm, intertwine the forearms. Left fingers to right palm, let the hands rest on your head, drop both knees to the right. Get a feel for the deepening of that rotation and the sensation of stretch wherever you feel the sensation of stretch. Good. And then right yourself again. Just come back onto the sole of the foot. And then drop both knees again to the right. Knowing again that you can use the press of the right leg, the outer right leg that's crossed over the outer left knee, to press down, to bring that right knee down and open that outer left hip, extension along the outer left hip. Let's do 3 more. I'm just staying as kind of loose, heavy, and relaxed in my shoulders, arms, and upper body as I can. I'm trying really not to make any effort there. Good. And then when you're back up on that left foot, uncross right leg, both feet on the floor, both arms on the floor. And then stand right foot, cross left thigh over, cross left arm over. Drop both knees to the left. And then right yourself and repeat at your own pace 4 more times. Feel free to just stay as long as you want to just kind of hang in the rotation. Linger for as long as it feels nice to linger, and then come back up and then drop again. You don't have to put any strictures on yourself as far as how many, how long to hold, do you inhale, do you exhale? Just go and then come back onto the foot, and just go and come back onto the foot. Let's do one more. 1 or 2 more, wherever you are. Good. And then return when you're ready to return. When you're done, extend both legs, arms by your sides, uncross everything. Just lay your legs out long. Feel the backs of your knees open up. Good. Let's bring right knee to right hand. Right knee toward your chest, right knee then out a little bit toward your shoulder, right knee a little wider, a little wider, a little wider. And we're externally rotated at the hip, and then bring it up into your left hand, pull it across. Good. Just roll back and forth under your own weight, under the weight of your bones. Once or twice more. Returning to your back, extending that right leg, and then pause for a breath or two. Feel your 2 extended legs. Notice anything that feels different here about your right hip, right leg, just as all the sensation of moving it around the hip joint is dissipating. And then you feel more or less balanced again. Then you bring your left knee into left hand, left knee towards shoulder, left knee out a little wider, a little wider, a little wider. Up and across into your right hand. Rotate your hips. Last one. And then we'll take, again, extended legs, a breath or two. Feel your two legs extended and just feel all of that movement, this kind of dissipation of the sensation around your left hip. All of that movement fading. Good. Okay, so let's come and bring your feet up to the floor. So you can easy move yourself from your back onto your side. If you were flat on your back, even if you were just using a blanket, just be on your side. Just take a breath on your side before you bring yourself up. We've been on our backs for a long time. Let blood pressure, your cranial blood pressure, have a minute to readjust. And then let's come up and take a roll of blankets or a bolster or long cushion or a couple of pillows across your space, across your mat. So we'll go sideline, lying sideways over the bolster. Getting that just long, lengthy stretch up the side waist, from the side hip, waist, up the side rib cage, up into this musculature of around the outer base of the shoulder blades. Set that up for yourself and then just come right over the side. You can support, if you want to keep your head a little more elevated, of course, you can just set the block under your head. Set the block under your head and you can still take top arm over. Kind of like how we did the side bend last week from the seated kind of half straddle, folding to one side, resting your head in your hand. You can keep your head way more elevated if you need to. Let's take 10 breaths on each side here. Lying comfortably, breathing comfortably. Good. And then let's just take a little bit of shoulder mobility, a little, just rolling the upper arm a little bit through the shoulder where it meets your shoulder, meets upper body. And that can be just a big reaching extended arm, big circles, or much more bend in your elbow where you're just kind of letting that upper arm bone move comfortably through the shoulder socket. One more breath. Take your time, roll a little bit forward so you can get your hands underneath you to push you up from your support. And bring yourself onto side two. Up and over. Support your head, elevate your head if you need to elevate your head, but let your body feel this. Let your body find this. Under the rib cage support. But another few breaths here. We'll start to take that top arm through the motions, rotating at the shoulder. Oh, good. Make your way up from there. Okay, and then let's potentially use this as support for your knee that might want a little support if you're going to take top leg back from swastikasana, where you're on your belly with your arm out, push yourself over onto your side, and then if this top leg wants to lift up and drop back a little bit, it's just hugging onto the bolster so it has some support under the knee. And then the top arm, the free arm, can rest on the floor in front of you, or you can slide, if that's available, sliding the forearm down around the back, or the back of the waist. And let's look to really set up this extended arm so that you're feeling stretch where you want to feel the tension of the stretch through the shoulder, from the chest, through the shoulder, down through the arm. So another 2 or 3 breaths on this side. Letting go, and it's time for you to let go. And then you might turn your head, let your arms rest wherever your 2 arms can just let go to the floor. Be completely out of any pose for a breath or 2. Good. And then let your hands do the lifting, let your arms do the lifting. If you need to turn yourself around, or if you can just go right over onto the other side from where you are and do it that way. Let the bolster just support that knee, that leg that's behind you. You can also, if you don't have a bolster, you can just stand that foot on the floor, right? The knee is up in the air, the foot is standing on the floor, using that as a little bit more support, stabilizing yourself in the pose. And so another 2, 3 breaths here. Slowly letting yourself unwind out of the pose, off of your side. Return your head, and then bring your arms to rest again. And take a breath or 2. Okay, and then let's go from there. Give yourself a little press up from the floor. Again, and then let's find a forward fold. So I'm going to come and fold over and extend the spine. So You can do that with the bolster behind your knees if you like. You can do that with a chair. So if you have a chair handy, you can get your legs under the chair or maybe out to the sides of the chair, and you can just fold over chair and rest forearms and then forehead to the floor. If you want to use the bolster, you still have your couple of blocks. Because many of us are tight enough around where low back meets hips that we can't really ever get very far. And what we want to do is just feel the muscles along this, the muscles that support the spine all up and down, just get this nice sensation of stretch. Okay, so you can always build up the support where your head is going to rest so that you're not just kind of hanging out there and struggle. Where your head can come to rest on a couple of blocks stacked up. They can be, you know, if you need to have blocks like this much under you. Not doing really too much for the sensation of stretching your back. If you're that high, maybe find a chair, find a seat of a chair, a table. You can lean toward and hold. You want to essentially just find as much of this leaning forward and out toward something as you can without straining or bothering anything in your low back, right? So support your head in any way that you need to. Just reach as far as you can with some support behind your knees, right? And wherever you land, wherever you stop, wherever that stops for you, is where you bring all of the support up underneath the head to support your forehead. Okay, so let's go there. We'll be there for a couple of minutes. Allowing your spine, allowing the muscles to comfortably round and broaden. Play with the levels of the blocks, right, in any way you want to. Slowly come up, release your head from its support and bring your spine up. And then let's do just briefly some pigeon pose. So if you want to come and do that from hands and knees facing the floor with one knee forward and your one knee forward, the opposite leg back, you can do it that way. Or if you're close to a wall or to your couch or your your bed, and you can get down on your back, some support underneath your head. You get 1 foot onto the wall, knee at a 90-degree angle, and then cross opposite ankle, and then just use the wall, and use your hand against the center right knee. Good, a minute, maybe just a minute here, each hip. 5, 6 big breaths. Another breath or two, holding the tension of that stretch, very comfortable window of tolerance. Good. And then switch. Switch legs, slowly switch legs. Good, 1 or 2 more breaths here. Okay, and then let's set up a support under your spine and your head for Shavasana. Lay 1 block on the mat, right, for the support to support the bolster. Lay the bolster over the block. I would like another blanket for my head. I grab another blanket and can be light. And then if you have a couple of things that you can put underneath the outer knees to bring the soles of your feet together, knees wide, you could have that variation for your legs, or you could just extend your legs, or you could just let your legs go out long in front of you. Okay, so options for that, but an elevated head, supported spine, and optional soles of feet together. If you have another something or other that you can use to support your knees and with your legs extended, and some support underneath your knees. So let's maybe take a breath or two. If you're up on a bolster and you've got space out here where your arms can just float, just feel the weight of your arms out to the sides, right? Like kind of trying to get to the floor, but you're too far away from the floor, maybe. Let the arms kind of hang and float Feeling that little pull around the shoulders, the chest. Your arms could also just rest comfortably overhead, right? With the elbows almost kind of hooked over the top of your blanket. Or they just rest on the floor. Feel the weight of your arms resting, forearms on the floor, palms turned up. We still have gravity really pulling the weight of your arms downward. Let's breathe, rest, breathe, give ourselves a few minutes here. Breath very open, very clear, unencumbered. And get your soles of feet together. You can extend your legs. Let your legs go from any supports you're using to keep soles of feet together, knee supported. Extend your legs. Take 3 breaths more. Good. And then let's just turn, fall to one side. You might just reach arm across and let the weight of that create a little momentum, come off of your supports onto your side. Take a breath or 2 here. Bring yourself up from your side to a seat. Taking a moment to close your practice. Hopefully, the restorative practice will support a restful rest of your evening. Hopefully so. And until I see you again, until we return to the Zoom room, thanks again for your time. Close our practice here. Namaste. Say goodbye. Okay,